And so I'm about to tell you, this is retention secret number 7. I do 2 full days, one on recruitment, one on retention. And so this is why it's number 7, even though it's the first retention secret for you, which is that female and males have actually different learning styles and interests in STEM, and if you teach to both, you'll engage them. So you're saying, great, what are those differences? And that's what the rest of the workshop is going to be on. And so any of you read John Gray, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus? I actually met him and told him that I was using his material. And he said, that's great, send me the information, that's wonderful. And so what I have found by looking at the literature, and by the way, on our website, IWITTS.org, we have a Proven Practices collection. And you'll see I'm going to be giving a webinar coming up soon on our Proven Practices collection. And you can look at the literature yourself. We have over 100 evidence-based articles, primarily journal articles. We've also done some case studies. And we really focused on having those with number outcomes. But what I wanted to tell you is that for the most part, overall as a group, females prefer a collaborative learning style. And overall as a group, males, or Mars, prefer heavy competition. Females overall as a group really like contextual, hands-on, and this is what is the primary motivator for females, how it's actually going to be used. The context for it is what engages and interests female students overall the most. For male students, if you read the book Unlocking the Computer Clubhouse, and it was about the changes Carnegie Mellon made in their computer science department, they talk. How many of you have read that book? I'm just curious. And any heard of it? Okay, great book. So one of the things that they talk about is that for males, it's the machine itself that really is engaging. How big the hard drive is, you know, how fast it goes, the processor. Whereas for the females, it's how it's actually going to be used. So that's another big difference. And they actually say for females, often the computer, the car, if we're talking about auto technology, is an acquired taste. And for males, it is actually a toy, and they view it as a toy. And so that's really a difference. For females, what they really value is that it's going to solve a problem. And what overall males really value is that the technology itself. They have a love for the technology itself. Now, do some females? Sure, of course. But if you're looking overall as a group, these are some of the differences. And I'm going to actually illustrate this to you. I'm like looking for my clicker here. So let me go over here. The other thing, you know, in terms of what engages the females, overall there's a lot of literature that shows, again, they care about how they can use the technology to make the world a better place. That is really important to them. And overall as a group, Mars really cares about how the technology works and how to make the technology work. So one example that was done on one of my colleagues' big NSF studies was looking at first-year engineering students and then following them throughout. And one of the big differences that she came up with was that there was a higher interest in, when they were doing design, having facilities that would include those with disabilities. That was not seen by the male students. Whereas the male students overall, they're going to care about things like rocket design. And so again, is this 100%? No. But there is literature that shows overall as a group, there's these differences in what engages. So, for example, when I do my full training, I talk about Lego Mindstorms. How many of you have used Lego Mindstorms? Just a couple. So how many of you know what Lego Mindstorms are? Most people. They're developed by the MIT lab, and they teach programming, engineering principles to secondary students, and they look like monsters. And overall, as a group, many female students don't like Lego Mindstorms. MIT Lab then came up with something called Pico Cricket that teaches all the same principles, but it makes a birthday cake sing, it makes a cat purr, and so you start to see that there's some differences in what interests, okay? And so I was on a listserv for teachers in secondary schools in robotics, and a teacher wrote in and said, what do I do? The girls don't like the Lego Mindstorms. And so one of the other teachers wrote back, make the robots animals as opposed to monsters. So you see that there's something in the content also that makes a difference in terms of engagement. So if you look at the literature, overall as a group, about 2/3 of females, 1/3 of females like competition. I'm in that 1/3, but 2/3 don't, and they prefer collaboration. So a lot of STEM courses tend to have competitions in them, right? There's one piece of literature that we have in our Proven Practices collections about a robotics course, and the robots are monsters, and they compete in the course, and that's often part of the course. But it's about the reverse for males. 1/3 of males don't like competition. 1/3 don't like competition, 2/3 do. So if you have both, you teach to both learning styles. Does everybody see that? So we're not for or against having competition. We're for having both competition and collaborative activities. And so classes that offer both of these are going to be able to retain both female and male students. Now, of course, there are some female and male students who are not to type, so to speak, right? So again, if we have variety of activities, then we're going to engage both. And I want to share with you, in the time that we have, a really revealing study in relationship to collaboration and female students. It was done at UC Santa Cruz, and it has a large N comparatively, and so that's one of the things I like about it. And they took students in computer science at UC Santa Cruz, and they had actually students that did pair programming where they programmed together as a pair, and there's certain rules about how they do it. And then they had students in a control group that were just doing regular programming where they did it on their own. And the numbers are pretty astounding for females in particular. So out of the total of 554 students, pairers were significantly more likely to remain in the course through the final exam, 90.8% versus 80.4%. That's both male and female combined. But a significantly higher percentage of students who paired went on to a subsequent programming course, and that was 84.9% versus 66.7%. Again, combined, but you can see that N is 51 for women and 186 for men. That's really significant, isn't it, for both males and females? I'm going to show you some disaggregated data, and you're going to see the degree to which this makes a difference for female students. So it benefits both males and females, but in particular, it really helps females because when they looked at those who declared a computer science major following this pair programming, following the programming course, those females who had been pairers decided to go on at a rate of 46.3%. If they did not do the pair programming, they went on at 11.1%. That's really significant, isn't it, for the females who are going to go on to CS. And it really underscores the importance of having collaboration be a part of your program activities right away in terms of engaging female students in STEM. The other thing that was interesting is that the research shows that confidence is such an important predictor for success and for retention of both male and female students. And they also had evidence that showed pair programming resulted in increased confidence for both female and male students. It was a 24% increase for women and a 16% increase for male students. So the great thing about pair programming is that it will disproportionately help female students be more engaged, but guess what? It also helps male students as well. Not as extremely, but pretty high bump. How many of you use pair programming? You do. Do you want to just tell us about your experience with that? Have you?
It's been mixed experience. Nothing good. I haven't seen anything specific in there, but usually girls try to form teams with girls.
Mm-hmm.
That's the common theme I have seen.
Okay.
They don't form pairs with men in teams.
Okay. And you know, I'm glad that you raised that because often I'll be asked, is that okay? And when I do the full training, one of the things that I show is a video that we made in one of our earlier National Science Foundation grants. And we currently have a National Science Foundation grant to bring this kind of information to a broader audience. And one of the strategies that was used at a secondary level by a female teacher in engineering was to let the students, to pair the students, female students together initially so that they could gain confidence. They didn't have to fight to use the equipment, so to speak. I also train on how to make sure that doesn't happen. But in any event, it's an easier environment for them. And she said then later have them integrate at a later time. So I know you didn't raise this as a question, but I'll just comment on it, which is I think that if the female students want to pair together initially, I think that's fine, and to let them do that. So that's interesting that you're doing pairing. Anybody else teach programming in their classes? I'm just curious. A couple other people have. Well, there is a pair programming in a box that you might be interested in. If you don't do it, you might be interested in doing it. And it's from National Center for Women in Technology. If you just Google IWITTS, and you'll be able to download as one of their resources pair programming in a box if that's something that interests you. And if you're interested in this particular article, remember I told you we have a proven practices collection on our website, which is www.iwitts.org. This is in the retention portion of the website, and I'm not positive which section, but we have a pretty strong database, searchable database that you would be able to put up the name of the study, UC Santa Cruz Post 2006. I think it might be in our team section. We have a subsection of retention called team, and you could look at the study in more detail. Yes?
In the programming class that I taught, I've noticed that women will tend to group together, but it's not an even match. You wind up with one person carrying the other. And they may both stay through the class, and they both pass the class. But when I was in the industry and hiring people, I needed people to perform independently. And I questioned whether that person who was being dragged through was actually going to be able to be successful later on. Is there any measurement about the success of a paired programmer in the industry?
There is not that I know of, but what I can tell you is really important. The issue that you raised is one student carrying through another. And so one of the things that I teach when I do the full retention training is how to do very specific kinds of structured pairings in a lab setting in particular, which is where this happens most often, so that it's not possible for one of the students to just end up taking the notes or be carried through. And so there are some really specific techniques to structure it so that it's not possible for that student to be pulled through by the other student. And so that will not only help your female students, and they disproportionately have less hands-on experience, which is why they shy away from lab activities. They have less background, usually due to informal play. But it will also help those male students that have less background as well, so that they will be fully participating in the lab. Last year, I don't know if any of you who are here attended, I specifically did a workshop on how to ensure your females are participating in the lab, which is, did any of you attend that? So that is like a whole module in which I spend just an hour on that. And so I think it's really important for the whole dynamic of making sure that female students are not overhelped. And that is a whole dynamic that can happen in a male-dominated class or industry. And ultimately it backfires. And so I'm glad that you raised it.
And the other observation I made was that frequently when you found pairings, they paired with people with equal skills. So you tend to get two very skilled people working together and two people who needed an enormous amount of teacher aid working together.
Yeah.
So they were being carried by the instructor at that point.
Yeah. So if you look at the article, they do have some specifics in the article, and I'll just give you one example. So the way that they have their structured pairing is very specific, and they use something called the driver navigator technique. And are you familiar with that? For those who aren't, the person who's touching the computer is the navigator, and the other person is the driver. And that way they ensure, and then you have to switch. So there's two things that I teach. One is that the instructors should monitor that switching is really happening. But the other thing is that if they're in violation of that and the driver, for example, starts to navigate, then they have to go back and start all over again. So there are a lot of really specific things to help with overcoming that tendency. And there's a couple of ways. Again, I go into this more fully later, but I can just say you could choose, for example, that you're going to do the pairing as well as in addition to letting them self-select, and you could keep in mind these kind of factors. So that would be something that would be up to you. Okay, good. So let's move on. This is the visual description of the difference in confidence and how it helps decrease the gap of confidence. Okay, retention secret number 9. We skipped number 8. We're going to go straight to number 9. If you give female and male students simple problems to solve by teamwork and hands-on projects right from the very beginning of the curriculum, and you don't wait till the advanced courses, you'll improve the retention rate of all of your students. And so there is there is a lot of research that shows, and I bet a lot of you are familiar with it, that the number one way to get both male and female students to stay in STEM is to give them hands-on right from the start. And the traditional model is to wait. It's sort of like the capstone course at the end. That will be too late for most female students, because remember what we said earlier? What's most important to female students about STEM and technology? What do they care the most about?
The value it has for the world.
The value it has for the world, how it's going to be used.
Is usefulness.
Its usefulness. So if you want them to see how it's going to be used and its usefulness, and that's the most important thing, what do you have to do right up front? Show them how to use it right from the start. So for those of you who are in the workshop right before mine, I had given an example that I'll mention again. There's a small college in Southern California, Harvey Mudd. It's got a lot of press. Their president is a female. She has a STEM background, and she increased the number of female students in computer science to almost half. I think it's at 42%. And one of the things that they did was give them programming projects in the very first week that were actual projects that were useful, and they programmed something real. And so there's also a wonderful, wonderful book that gives many examples. I'm going to give you a few right now. It's a book on gender and engineering. It was developed out of Australia, but about 2/3 of the examples are from the United States. And I'll just boil it down to this. The number one thing that worked to engage women and men in STEM, but disproportionately women because they care the most about how things work, was to do hands-on, like right from the start. And the other part of that is that for females, confidence is a huge predictor of success. They need to feel like they can do it in order to actually be successful. And so if you actually do some kind of hands-on activity in your very first week, you're going to feel a lot more confident about your ability to do whatever it is, right? So that's why this is such an important retention secret. It's really sort of a double one, a twofer, because it both focuses on the context, which is what really is the driver for most females in terms of what engages them, but it also gets them doing something that makes them feel that they can do it. And so that is really, really critical. So let me give you a couple of examples. And the name of the book that I was referring to is Gender Inclusive Engineering Education. And if you Google them, they have a pretty extensive website. And you can get the book itself. I'll tell you, it's a thin book. I think it's worth its weight in gold, but it's pretty pricey. It's about $120. But they have a great website too. And so, and you know, I didn't even know about this book, but I spoke at the American Society for Engineering Education conference, and they were speaking like before me, these two women engineers who wrote it, and then they're telling me about this book, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that this book has been written. So, very excited. So we have to, oh, okay, there we go. We were lagging. So one of the examples they give in the book was from University of Hartford, and the faculty were concerned about the scarcity of women in engineering and the public image of engineers as boring and lacking social skills and spending time with gadgets rather than people. And so some of what they did, and they ended up achieving 100% retention in a 25% female cohort, was they really focused on highlighting opportunities for engineers to work in social and humanitarian fields. And they also had them do project work, which in the very first year included engineering contributing to the public good and also emphasizing good communication skills. So that was University of Hartford. Then Purdue did a project which is still in effect today. It started out in engineering and has gone beyond engineering. And they went from 10 to 12% female enrollment in electrical and mechanical engineering, which tends to be very male-dominated, to 20%. And some of what they did was some of the same kinds of things. They framed science in its social context. They stressed general education goals, including communication. They employed cooperative interdisciplinary approaches, and they undertook problems with a holistic global scope. And how some of that looked was, for example, they had projects like computer-controlled toys for children with physical disabilities, an environmental monitoring system to assist an art museum, improve preservation of the exhibit, an outdoor high school science and environmental engineering laboratory. Just to give you a sense of the types of projects. Now, this is sort of my favorite example. Before I go, I'm going to show you some videos that are also going to help illustrate this in a second. We're going to debrief them. So what I like about this was actually from a school in Australia, University of South Australia. They had a engineering materials course that had a really high dropout rate. And you know, when you think about engineering materials, it's sort of a dry topic, right? How do you make that, you know, in terms of you know, being very interesting, or where's the humanitarian aspect? And so what they did was they structured the course around industry, and the very first day of the course, they talked about a failure in engineering materials, again, showing the context. And they had the students develop solve a problem relating to materials engineering from day one. So their whole perspective in writing this book is that that process is what makes it gender inclusive. So does everybody see that? Because that will disproportionately help engage female students. But the great news is, since I don't know how it took until only last year for me to learn this, but I learned, like, maybe it was 2 years ago, actually half of males are also dropping out of engineering in this country too. So it's not just a problem for females. So the great news is it helps engage both male and female students. And what I like about this particular example is that might be the one in which it would be hardest to see how you might have something that would have some social environmental context, but simply by having the context, having the problem, relating it to industry from the very first day, that was what made a difference. Okay, the numbers are pretty astounding. They had a 54% retention rate when they started in '99, and over an average of 6 years, it went to 80%. Isn't that amazing? So that the proof is in the pudding, so to speak. Now, I don't know if they have a significantly different grading system, because these grades seem pretty low to me still, but maybe this was true overall for everybody in this required course. they started at 48% and they went to 60%, which obviously was an increase, but here that would be a D. So I'm not sure how they worked that, but the average marks increased as well as the retention. Okay, so are you ready? I'm going to sort of give you a test in a way in a minute. Not so much a test, but going to help me come up with how these videos actually demonstrate some of what we're talking about. And the videos I'm going to be showing you are from SciGirls, which is a PBS program. Any of you seen SciGirls or seen PBS Kids? No? Okay, we're going to show you a couple clips. And they have 7 principles, which we'll go through here, that they incorporate in their videos that are shown on television but are also used for teaching purposes. And what I want to, and these are secondary oriented, and I know that most of you are with community colleges, not all of you, but what I want you to be able to see is sort of the principles of what I'm talking about. And I figured a video would be the best way to do it in our classroom setting. So the first principle is something we've already talked about. Girls benefit from collaboration. 2 is girls are motivated by projects they find personally relevant and meaningful. 3, girls enjoy hands-on, open-ended project investigation. 4, girls are motivated when they can approach projects in their own way, applying their creativity, unique talents, and preferred learning styles. 5, girls' confidence and performance improves in response to specific positive feedback on things they can control, such as effort, strategies, and behaviors. 6, girls gain confidence and trust in their own reasoning when encouraged to think critically. And 7, girls benefit from relationships with role models and mentors. Okay? So now I'm going to show you a video clip, and I'm going to ask you how this video clip demonstrates these principles or some of the other principles we've been talking about earlier. Okay? So that's the test part of things. It's not really a test. And let's see if I can do this successfully on the system. It's Alt-Tab, right? Yeah. It should be coming up, but it's not coming up, of course. Oh, that's good. Okay. We tested that, got it wrong. It did work. It did work.
What happens when you right click? It's trying to do something. There's a little blue bar starting when you hit and stopping. It's on appreciation first, this one that's not completely controlled by here. Robots first? Yeah. Great.
Welcome to Texas A&M. You guys want to do some robotics? Yeah! Go to the lab.
Doctor?
Sorry.
Welcome to Texas A&M. You guys want to do some robotics? Yeah! Go to the lab.
Dr. Robin Murphy invited us to her lab to help her program robots, program their boys, their behaviors, to make them better.
Come in, I got a robot for you.
Cool. Robin is a computer scientist and an engineer who works in rescue robots.
This is one of our extreme models of robots that we buy and use for disaster response.
And the first little robot, it really excited me and it motivated me because I was like, wow, we need to drive that and program it and stuff.
What I'm going to do is introduce you to one of our other robots, and that's super robots. So this is Sheldon. This is one of our basic research robots. And this is the survivor buddy that we've built to go on top of Sheldon on one of these screens.
can like see, you know, you can like see the pictures that it's like a radio, like hearing or typing, or iChat or something like that.
It's a multimedia interface.
Okay, a multimedia interface. It's like a person's head. I wonder if it's a funny thing.
So we've got now, instead of just two-way audio, we've got two-way video. So now you've got a super TV that's more like a person's head, which could either be very good or could be very creepy. That's what we need help finding out.
Oh my gosh, this is so weird. Try to look over. You need to get it time. Yeah, Disaster City is a big simulation world. It's only used to train people for emergency situations.
All right, ladies, saddle up.
I look so professional. It has rubble piles, it has tunnels, car garage platforms, it is pretty much every disaster. Disaster City is just a big mess. Look at that.
This is one of the robots that we use for search and rescue that we're developing. What we're going to have you guys do is try out using this robot here in the House of Pancakes.
All right, y'all ready? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, go for it. Do this.
We're kind of playing hide and seek with the robot a little bit. We're waiting for it to come and find us. Yeah.
Let's peek in there here. That one? Yeah. Hey, that's doing what Jake's robot is doing. Looking for something.
Isn't that interesting how you have what's called common ground, because you're both looking at the same picture. When she said, see that door, you knew what you were talking about. And that's really important. So imagine if you're 3,000 miles away trying to work together, which is what we hope to have, so you don't have to have lots of people out in the field.
It's pretty cool. Oh, I see them! Look, they're there! Hello! People from all over come and train right here. Hey, Abby, why don't we take a group shot? Yeah, that sounds good. Gotta go.
So we're designing an outgoing robot. Nice that we're doing that because I'm kind of an outgoing person. We both try a little bit. And so we can bring traits from ourselves and put it into our robot.
Exactly. How are we going to make a reserved and soft-spoken robot? We just think maybe the attribute of a shy person.
I definitely want it to be fun.
Maybe like a student voice. It should be definitely friendly. What do you think about male or female?
You'd also want to be maybe a little funny, don't you think?
I'm not sure on that one. Yeah, you know, it makes the person feel a little confident. And we definitely don't want to go near the commanding voice. Outgoing versus calm, high versus deep. I wonder which one will find out. I mean, so fun to have somebody bossy you around. Yeah. You also kind of want that trustworthy.
Yeah.
In it. Yeah. Kind of cool. Yeah. Mellow, I guess. Yeah.
Like real big.
Yeah. So scaled by distance.
Yeah.
Movement scaled by distance.
I think that's pretty much what we need for our robot.
Yeah. Sounds pretty good.
Some of the things our outgoing robot's going to have, its motions are going to move faster, and they're going to be more bigger and dramatic motions, and a higher pitched voice, and it's going to speak a lot faster.
And their robot will have smaller motions and just kind of more calm motions, and the voice will be deeper, slower, just kind of a softer voice.
Okay, so here's the deal. We're going to start off by programming on a computer simulation.
Robert came over with 2 computers, one for each team, the outgoing and the calm and quiet, with computer simulations, which has a model of the Survivor Buddy on there, and we have to make it do moves, and she explained on what the moves were, like a pitch. A pitch is forwards and backwards, or a translation. A translation is, you know, shrug up, shrug down. And a head roll was like turn to the side, and, you know, a yaw was like you're saying no. Well, Fang is sort of shy. I wonder which one she'd like. Let's do some small comments first, and then we'll do some big scales.
Okay, definitely.
Okay. Let's try with a 20. Do you think that was too fast or too slow? Or I think it was a little too fast to get it as medium, so let's try slow. Okay. Okay, well let's reset it and let's look at it again. Okay. It's broken.
Okay, save it, save the behavior.
He decides we, what, the 20 to 33 goal? Okay.
When we take this and put it on a real robot, it's going to be pretty cool because it's going to be like,
Yeah. I designed that, you know?
It's pretty amazing. Those are middle school girls, isn't it? So even though they're middle school girls, could you see that, same principles with your community college students? So what were some of the principles of what we saw?
Collaboration.
Collaboration. Them all brainstorming together what the emotions were, and they're all figuring out together how to use the pitch, for example. That was pretty amazing. So collaboration, what else did we see?
The fact that they were working on disaster relief, something that they were going to blow something up, rather they were going to help people.
Exactly, that's a great example. You know, they're not blowing something up with a monster thing, but they're going to help someone, and that's more engaging to them. So that was another one of the principles. What else did we see in addition?
From creativity, defining the personality and how things are going to move at the rates of change.
Yes, so we saw their creativity was coming up with the emotions and how that emotions would look, and then having to actually, that was amazing, huh? So they weren't worried about the tilt because they had a context for it. So that was a third one that we saw, the creativity. What was the fourth? Mentoring. So
guiding them through the process.
So the role model, providing that confidence. So that was number 5. Great. And you have one? Confidence. It was amazing to see their confidence when they got to the technical part, wasn't it? They just brainstormed together because if you remember, they'd already been in the field, they'd already seen what that looked like from the very start, and so they weren't worried about it when it got to actually implementing that with the computer. So we saw a lot of those principles in this clip. Want to see one more and debrief it? Okay, so this one is the doggy dog house.
When we get hot, we just head inside and cool off in the air conditioning. So poor Rupert, his house doesn't have any air conditioning, and summer's almost here. So we decide to take action. It's DFTV Dump Home Makeover.
And this is only partial clips in Arizona. Both of them.
We've only got 24 hours to do it. Let's do it. I thought you drew up the plan. I thought you did. No, I thought you did. I'm pretty sure you did. Okay, maybe we need to do a little bit more research. Yeah, let's go. Maybe we're going to make you the best outhouse ever. Right there. And then also exhibit that shows how homes are made for Arizona climate. We should make some floor plans or something for Rupert's doghouse. How can we build a doghouse to help Rupert stay cool in summer? The science centers have little houses that you can do experiments with. Look at this table. It probably helps with their doghouse. What house we start? The other house is white. The lamp with the sun. First, we decided to take the temperature before we turned on the light. Base temperature for the dark house was 76.9 degrees Fahrenheit. For the light house, room temperature was 74.7. We wrote the temperature down. Ready? Set. Go. Then, we turned on the sun and set the temperature. That's going to be 21 minutes. Oh boy, we're going to be here for a while. We waited 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, we checked the temperature inside the houses and recorded it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wow, it's 103 degrees. Wow, it's only 84 degrees. Then we figured out the temperature change for both of our houses. It started at 77 degrees Fahrenheit and went all the way up to 103 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a 26-degree change. And then for the light-colored house, it was 75 degrees Fahrenheit before, and then after it was 84 Fahrenheit, which is a 9-degree change. I'm thinking that this dark house absorbs or sucks up more of the sun's energy than the lighthouse does. So we should use the light-colored house for roofers. The museum has a special kind of cooling system that works great in Arizona where it's so dry. This is called a swamp cooler. I know what it is because we have one in our house. The swamp cooler uses evaporating water to cool the air. A fan blows air over the wet cloth, evaporating the water and cooling the house. We decided to take the temperature of the house and run the swamp cooler for a while to see if it really works. Okay, so we're not spraying it anymore. It's already gone down about 5 or 6 degrees. So should we make our own swamp cooler for workers' house? Of course, he would love the mist. What we will need. We put together a list of supplies and then make some plans for the swamp cooler and super stock house. Alright, I think we're good. Then, we have to hurry back to the house and start building because we're running out of time. Our building. The house was finally finished. We could keep baseline temperature of the air inside the house, and then we wrote it down. Then we let the house roast in the sun for an hour while we finished the cooling system.
Okay, so now we can go back to the PowerPoint. So how do we see in this clip some of the principles?
Collaboration, hands-on.
Collaboration, hands-on.
Practical application.
Practical application. They're really learning heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration, right? But it's a lot more interesting because they're trying to make a cool environment for their dog. And we know that overall, females really like animals a lot too, so that helps. Good. So you can see it here as well. So you're learning, they're actually doing the math, and they're problem solving, and they're testing, but they're doing it in a context that's of great interest to them, which is how to cool their dog's house. We see another illustration thereof. So to recap in terms of our key takeaways, that collaborative teamwork increases the persistence of female and male students, that providing context and problem solving up front increases the persistence of female and male students, and 3, appealing to female interests up front increases the persistence of female students. So I want to tell you about a couple of things that are coming up, and the first is that I told you we have a proven practices collection, and I will be doing a free webinar that you can sign up for, and you also have, if you have the gold flyer, you have the information on it on our website, in which we just added, we have over 100 resources in our proven practices collection, and I'll be doing a webinar, that highlights some of the, I think, 30 new resources that we recently added to our proven practices collection on January 17th, and I would love if you would attend the webinar. It's funded by the National Science Foundation. We are also, if you like what you heard today and you would like more, I will be doing an online training that you also have the information for. It starts on February 25th and goes through May 1st. We also do real-time trainings. I have a national training that I'm doing in the Bay Area in June, which is on our website. And I also do a variety of free webinars, and we have some free trainings as well that are through the National Science Foundation grant. So if I have your information, did everybody sign in on the sign-in sheet? Where's the? Did it make its way to this side of the room? Okay, so if you want to. Then if I have your information, or if you leave your card if you didn't sign in, then I will send you information about it. Any questions before we end today?
How could you try to balance things out? Like I'm teaching a class.
Yeah.
There's going to be 18 boys, 1 girl.
Okay.
So if I make it like competition or competitive, I know the males are going to do better. But it's going to have an adverse effect on the female students I have.
Sure. So, so it's hard because you have only one female. I want you to come to the training, and then you can recruit and have more females. But in that situation, remember that I showed you that the boys are also benefiting from these techniques. So it's not going to be detrimental to include collaborative activities. And it won't be detrimental, like something like the doghouse is going to also interest males as well as females. One of the clips that they have is using electromechanical lights in a fashion show. You're not going to do that one with 1 girl and 18 boys, but you could do the doghouse. So what I suggest is that you still can do the process kind of things, like have the problem solving right from the start, etc. And you can have some content that's going to be appealing to both males and females. And so it's not all monsters exploding, because some of the males will be interested in search and rescue as well. Does that help?
Well, I'll try. It's a programming course, so software engineering. So.
Okay. Okay. Good.
You said that 1/3 of the female
competitive. Yes.
And 2/3
yeah.
And the reverse for males.
Yeah.
Is there a test or something that could be used first day of the classroom to get a sense of what the students are like, so that you can tailor to that student?
Not that I know of. And so what I'd really recommend, I mean, there's actually literature about competition being a demotivator for females. And so as much as I'm in the 1/3 that's competitive, knowing that 2/3 it'll be a demotivator for, I really think the best thing to do, rather than try to pull those students, is to have a combination of competition and collaborative, because there's a lot of research that shows there's both for males and females. So if you have both, you'll have your bases covered. But I don't happen to know of a test that shows that. Any other questions? Does anybody else know of a test that does that? No. Okay. Okay, well, I'm so happy that I actually had people come to the last session of the day. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I hope that I will see you at the webinar or online training or in a real-time training, and that I can stay connected with you. If you didn't, who has the sign-in? Okay, so if you didn't sign in, make sure to sign in or give me your card so I can stay in touch with you. And feel free to send me an email and let me know how things are going.
Donna? Yeah, I'm not in. You really wanted to know where the videos came from, or
the videos. Yeah, the videos are on our website. We're a reseller of them for Sci Girls. So IWITTS.org in our store.
Hi, Donna.
Hi.
Do you ever have to follow up on the CIT department in the comments here? But I'm for the department.
Yeah, I know. I recognize you from.
You work with Carmen and stuff.
Yeah. So I'm not actively working with them now, but I know they're continuing the strategy.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're glad that there are more women taking our classes.
Thank you. I'm glad too.